쿨하게 놀고 있는 임팩트리 포틀랜드까지 왔네요. 포틀랜드 시드펀드 제니퍼 린치 모시고 이야기 들어보겠습니다. 임팩트! 한국에서 뵙고까지 와서 보니까 더 반갑습니다.
It is so fun and welcome to Portland.
Thank you. 그래도 작년에 한국에서 시드펀드를 소개하고 나서 한국이 조금 시끄러웠어요. 포틀랜드 시드펀드 같은 시스템이 한국에는 없거든요. 스타트업 일반적인 펀드는 있는데 이렇게 지역 펀드라는 개념이 없어서 많은 사람들이 관심을 가지더라고요. 그래서 찾아올 수밖에 없었습니다. 우선은 포틀랜드 시드펀드가 만들어지게 된 배경, 주요한 계기가 있는지 좀 말씀 좀 부탁드리겠습니다.
The idea for Portland Seed Fund came from the city of Portland. The city, the mayor's office, and the Office for Economic Development knew that there needed to be more venture capital in Portland. And they wrote a contract for a venture capital fund. They promised to invest $1 million, and they looked for people to manage the fund. So the idea came from within the city government, which is very special. You know, we think of venture capital as being private enterprise or, capitalists and just wealthy people. But here in Portland, the government knew that we needed money to start companies, and they were willing to invest $1 million to try this for the first time. So my partners answered the request for fund managers, and the city interviewed many different fund managers and selected my partners, Angela Jackson and Jim Houston. And they won the contract. They raised $2 million from people all around Portland. Not just people, but law firms where we sit today, attorneys, from accountants, people who do taxes and manage the finance of a business. There were who broker commercial real estate, so who sell office space. All of them invested in the first fund. So there were citizens, and there was the city of Portland, but there were also attorneys and accountants and real estate agents, all people who would benefit if there were more small startups in the city of Portland.
Yeah.
And the first fund was $3 million.
언제 설립됐죠, 그러면?
2011.
2000.
So 12 years.
계기가 있습니까, 혹시 어떤?
In 2008, there was a big recession here in the United States. The economy was very bad. And the last of the startups that had funding were going out of business. And it was time for capital to come in and start new businesses. So yes, the city saw that there were not enough of these small businesses because we count. Every year we count how many startups in Portland, how much money have they raised, how much capital, how many people work there, and every year we keep track. And the city saw that the number was too small.
다른 지역에도 이런 지역 펀드가 혹시 있습니까? 아시는지?
There are many states, US states, that have something similar. It is less common for a city to support. But today in the United States, federal government is now giving many billions of dollars to about 30 US states. One of them is Oregon. And there will be more of these public money venture capital funds starting later this year.
그쪽과 비교했을 때 포틀랜드 시드펀드만의 특징이 있을까요?
In Oregon, we work together with other venture capital funds. So here in Portland, there are 5 venture capital funds, and we often invest together. So often Portland Seed Fund writes the very first investment check into a startup, and then one of the other 4 will also invest. And that is how we do it. We are working with small amounts of money compared to California or New York or Texas, large places with large cities. But because we work together, we are able to keep the companies alive long enough for them to test their product, test their business, try and raise more money. So I think that is what is different. We work together.
포틀랜드는 다른 뭐 실리콘밸리나 그런 곳처럼 테크나 그런 것이 아니라 스몰 비즈니스가 원래 발달한 곳이었어요.
In Oregon,
Yeah.
we were a resource economy. So Oregon's economy used to be the trees, the forest products, and the fisheries, so the ocean products. It has shifted in the last 50 years, a service economy, so more software, more healthcare. The companies that are the biggest in Oregon are the athletic companies, so Nike, Adidas, Under Armour. We have very big. In technology, it is semiconductors. So Intel, yes, and Tektronix, the companies that match, the services with the semiconductor needs. And so our startups tended to be, along from those industries. So we have many startups that are doing athletic products, and we have many companies that are doing software, that are technology. Those are our 2 biggest categories of startups.
정부가 먼저 제안을 했다고 했잖아요, 그죠? 미국 치고는 특이한 케이스 같은데.
In Portland, 20 years ago, there was one venture capital fund, one very large venture capital fund. It had money from the federal government and from other sources of private capital. And it funded many startups. But then it lost all of its money. This is maybe 2005. It lost all of its money. And the city waited, 5 years for another venture capital fund to start doing business, and it didn't happen. And the city knew that venture capital is a way that companies who are going to hire lots of people get started. Obviously, lots of people start companies in Portland all the time, but if they start a store, they hire 2 people. If they do marketing, they may hire 1 person. But the sort of company that hires 50 people needs venture capital. And after 5 years, when there was no venture capital fund in Portland, the city knew that if there were going to be new businesses that leased an office and hired 50 people, that they would have to step in, start helping.
그래서 이제 시스템이 만들어진 지 이제 12년이 됐는데 일반적인 투자 회사들은 회수 기간이 이제 7년으로 잡고 있고 포틀랜드 시드펀드는 12년인가 15년으로 알고 있거든요.
Yes. So Portland Seed Fund, the first fund, $3 million. 2012, we started writing checks to companies. In 2014, there is Portland Seed Fund 2. And we invested in 40 companies. In 2018, Portland Seed Fund 3, $15 million. We invest in 60 companies. In 2022, Portland Seed Fund 4. So every 4 years, we raise a new Portland Seed Fund, and it writes new checks. But yes, you are correct, about 7 years. So 2018 is Portland Seed Fund 3. 2014, Portland Seed Fund 2. So it has, it is almost 10 years. We have had one company with IPO. We have had, we have had 10 companies who have mergers, so sell the business. And we have 10 companies that are still in business, still growing, still raising capital. It may take another 5 years for them to sell or IPO. But yes, it takes a very long time. So from the time you start until the time the fund is finished, It could be 15 years.
이렇게 이제 펀드 투자하고 기다려주는 기간이 이렇게 긴데 지금 바로 성공과 실패를 논하기 못하지만 성공했던 기업은 아까 IPO 하라 했잖아요. IPO 한 기업 말고 지금 예단하긴 그렇지만 성공했던 기업 사례 한 두 가지 정도.
The companies, we like to say that 7 out of 10 companies go out of business. We will not get our money back. Or 7 out of 10. It is a very large number.
Yeah.
So for maybe 5 out of 10, we get no money back. For maybe 2 out of 10, maybe we get back what we put in. And so everything is about the 3 out of 10 that are extraordinary.
Yeah.
And on those, we try to at least triple our money or more. So for one company, we got 50 times our money. So sometimes there are very big successes, and that drives the average of the whole thing. So what we like is when the companies that are going to go out of business, where we lose our money, we like that to happen fast. So we do not spend too much money, trying to keep them alive. It is better for us if they are going to fail, if they fail quickly. The other thing that we like to say is that lemons ripen before plums. So a lemon, as in a company that is not very, it's sort of not very successful. It will get us to an exit, so it will sell or, merge, and that will happen quickly, and we will not make very much money. But the plum, the very sweet and successful company, it takes longer. It takes longer, and we wait longer, but we do better in the end.
잘하고 있는 기업들의 특징 뭐가 있을까요?
If I knew which one was always going to be the most successful, I would be very rich. So it is a good question, but when we invest, we think all of them are going to be the most successful. Here in Portland, at Portland Seed Fund, the companies that have made us the most money have been software companies, have not had an extraordinary make lots of money on anything else besides software. So that is number one. We keep trying. We invest in a clothing company or a food company or an energy company, but most of our success has been software. So this is number one. Number two, they have been software companies that sell to other businesses. So no iPhone apps, no video games, no consumer software, all business to business. And the third thing about the most successful companies is that they are led by entrepreneurs, by founders who have a lot of experience in the business that they are running. We do not do well when a person who was in semiconductors decides to start a clothing business. They have no experience, even if they are very smart and have a very good network and make a really good product. We have not done well with those entrepreneurs. We do better when someone has deep experience in a space and they decide to start a company, their own business, doing something in that space.
창업자의 스타일도 말씀해 주셨는데 성공하는 데 더 영향이 있다는 말씀이신지?
We like to say it is the team. So this is the people, founder, and the people that they work with. We like to look at the traction, this word. Are they selling? Are customers paying for the service? It can be the best idea in the whole world, but if nobody pays for it, right? So we always look at that team traction. And then we also like to look at proof. So does it work? We know sometimes an entrepreneur can sell their product because they are very good at selling. But if the product does not work, they will not be able to, sell again to that same business. They will struggle to sell to new companies. They will struggle to raise money. So we like to know not just that the product is good, but also that the product works, because that is what drives repeat business. That is what helps a company grow big. Yes.
스타트업이 성공하기 위해서는 뭐 카테고리도 중요하고 아까 말씀하신 팀 빌딩이나 뭐 여러 가지 소비자를 잇는 그런 많은 것들이 필요한데 그 성공 요소 중에서 끼친 영향의 비율은 어느 정도 될까요?
I feel very small.
Really?
But the way that we help, so we help in the ways that we are best. So we help the entrepreneur raise more money. So we write a very small check, say 100,000 US dollars, is too small for the company to hire a new employee, too small for them to contract with a marketing agency. And so we try to help them raise more money, maybe 500,000 US dollars, because then they can hire people. So we help with fundraising. We help the company, their attorney, their accountant, the sorts of people who will help them make sure that their business is professionally run and managed. You know, those sorts of people keep the business organized and keep the business ready for investment from other people. So we always make introductions to those sorts of people. We will help them when it is time to sell. So if it is time and the business is not growing in the way that we had hoped, we often counsel them to sell the business, not give up, but to, you know, merge with another company. And we do that because we want the entrepreneur, we want the founder to, you know, exit their business financially stable, not by losing all of their money, not by going into debt. We try and counsel, you know, the companies to know when it is time to stop.
그러면 지역에는 어떤 영향을 끼쳤을까요, 우리 PSF가?
Every 5 years, we measure. We hire an economic consultant to measure the impact. And we measure the impact in number of new jobs. So we know that since the beginning of Portland Seed Fund, our companies have hired thousands of people. And we measure impact in the taxes the business pays to the city and to the state. The companies pay no taxes until they start becoming profitable. You know, we know that when they are paying taxes, we know the business is hiring and paying wages. We measure the impact in average salary of the people that our companies hire. It is one thing to create a job, you know, at a store where somebody makes an hourly wage. It is not enough money for an apartment or a car. We like to say that our companies, when they hire a person, the average salary is, you know, at least $60,000 a year is enough for the employee to have a living wage and a car. So we count the number of jobs that we create like that. And we do measure it all the time. And this is how, when we go back to the city of Portland and ask for more money, we can say, you know, here are the jobs. Here is the offices that these people have leased. Here are the taxes that they have paid. And we can say, City of Portland, our investment is generating a return. And of course, the city is invested in the fund. In Portland Seed Fund 2, the City of Portland has gotten back 2 times the money that they put in. So on top of all of the jobs and taxes and you know, real estate that we've created, they've also doubled their money. So this has been very good for the city of Portland in the last 10 years.
한국에서는 포틀랜드 시드펀드가 만들어져 있는 이 구조에 대해서 궁금해하는 사람들이 많거든요. 정부가 제안을 했다고 했는데 지금 어떤 형태로 어떤 구조로 만들어져 있는지.
Here in Portland, there is a part of the government that is just tasked with doing growing business in the city. And they help with all sorts of things for businesses already. Changes to a building so they can open a store there. This department of the city will help pay for that, right? And so then we get a new store. Or if a business needs a discount on taxes, so they can build a huge new building and put an office in it. That's what this department of the city does, this economic development. And so this was the key working with a part of the city that is already tasked and measured based on how many businesses they create, how many jobs they create. That was number one, was starting with the right part of the government that is already working on this. They just aren't doing this yet. And then number two was finding the investors in the city. So there were very small pockets, small numbers of people who were investing. You could say that the first investing in Portland was there was a once a year event called Angel Oregon. Angel Oregon. And once a year, Angel Oregon would put together a one-day conference. They would invite people to invest a small amount of money, $5,000, $10,000. And then they could be part of a small fund for that one day. Startups would come and pitch to all of the investors. Big hotel ballroom.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, the investors would take all of the money, so maybe it is $500,000, and they would pass it out to 3 or 4 winners. So we were doing this every year, right? Like there was a small, and there was a number of people, there were a number of people in Portland who would do this every single year. They would come to the event, write their $5,000 check, and they would get a small piece of a local business. And so when the city knew that we needed to do venture capital fund, there was a list of people who were probably going to invest in a venture capital fund. We knew who they were. They had already written a small check. They had already seen what it was like to hear startups pitching, and they already were, interested in backing a very small, risky business. And so the city of Portland said, okay, if we do the first $1 million, can you, go find $2 million from all of these people in Portland who we know like the startups? And it has happened in Eugene, Oregon. It has happened in a number of cities in Oregon. So, that way of getting started with a one-day event, asking people to write a small check, just doing this once a year is what kickstarted the fund.
스몰 포켓의 힘이 PSF의 힘인 것 같은데 저는 그렇게 느끼거든요. 혹시 맞습니까?
Oh yes, absolutely. We are not a wealthy state. We are not California. We are not New York. We do not have billionaires. It is not. It's not even in Seattle where we have very wealthy people, who made a lot of money with Microsoft or with Amazon. Oregon, is a small state, just 3 million people. We do not have a lot of huge companies, and we don't have, we have like 2 billionaires. And so the small investors are the heart of everything that we do. They are extremely important to us. Without them, there would be no Portland Seed Fund. And these people tend to be finished working, so they are retired. And we ask them to write a check into our fund that is a number that makes them feel comfortable. So it is not $1 million or $5 million. It is maybe, $100,000 or $200,000. We start, with these small checks, and we allow them to pay over time, so they don't have to write one huge check all at once. We make it easy for them. For example, in Portland Seed Fund 3, we have 60 investors, 60. So many people with small checks. Beside those many people with small checks, we have very large checks from the state of Oregon, from the city of Portland, local foundations or endowments, just a handful of those, but yes. These small checks are very important.
포틀랜드 시드펀드가 만들어지게 된 것, 이렇게 구성되게 된 것, 이게 포틀랜드의 원래 좀 사회적인 분위기, 문화 때문일까요? 위어드하는?
Yes, I think that is true. This is a small city. It is very easy for people to meet other people. I do think that when our investors, they don't always know the CEOs of our companies, but sometimes they do, or they know someone who used to work with the CEO of the company. So the social network is very small, and we feel that that's very important. When the investors feel like the founder of the company is, a friend of a friend, or a coworker, from a place they used to work. They feel more personally invested in the success of the business, and those personal connections, absolutely, are very important to keeping the small companies alive. So Portland Seed Fund is already transitioning the people who are the managers of the fund. So this is the most important thing for a seed fund to last for many, many years, is making sure that the new managers come and learn how to raise the fund, learn how to invest the money, learn how to support the companies as they grow. All of that transition between managers is very important for a sustainable and long-lasting seed fund. So we are, practicing that all the time, making sure our team is strong and growing. We are always hoping that more people will start new companies. So that is my hope, is that entrepreneurs will want to start a company in Portland. They'll want to grow it here and hire people here and hire an attorney here. So that is my hope, is that not everyone will want to do a remote company where they just sit at home on their computer. We like it when they really commit to the city and want to grow their business here by hiring here and having an office here. So that is a thing I hope for, is that we go back to more in-person offices and more companies that are growing here. So my first advice is to have a partner, have a team. A startup is too hard for one person. It's too much. Having a team is the first and most important secret of a successful business, is to work together. I know that is hard because starting a company has a lot of financial risks, and it is easy for you to do that for yourself. It is much harder to convince a partner to also take a financial risk with you. So that is my first piece of advice, is finding someone to share the financial risk. And my second piece of advice is to be open to receiving help. So most people start a business because they are very passionate about a business, or they are very good, skill or a business product. And it is easy to think that you know everything. You already know, and that's why you've started a company. Being open to advice, being open to help, being open to changing your mind about the way that your business works is really important to staying alive in the very first few critical years.
사랑받는 지역의 기업을 내가 만들겠다는 것이 포틀랜드 시드펀드의 생각입니다. 보신 것처럼 포틀랜드 시드펀드의 자본 비율은 매우 흥미롭습니다. 대규모 자금을 어딘가에서 땡겨오는 것이 아니고요. 적극적인 시민들의 참여로 조성이 되었습니다. 지역을 대표하는 로컬 브랜드가 탄생하기를 바라는 마음들이 모여서 포틀랜드 시드펀드가 만들어졌고요. 지금도 활발히 운용되고 있습니다. 로컬 브랜드에서 중요한 지점은 지역에 대한 애정임을 포틀랜드 시드펀드가 보여주고 있습니다.